tomorrow is National Vietnam Veterans Day. And I'm going to give you the history of that in a little bit, but I want everybody else to say hello first. We were all Vietnam veterans here, except for my special guest, who helps film a lot of this.
Fortunately, she's the prettiest one on the table.
Yeah, I'm second. But anyway, John, since we're filming this, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself? You're also a Vietnam veteran.
Oh, not me? Okay, let's talk about other veterans too much. But I was in the Navy from 1966 to 1969. I served with the Seabees in California for a year and a half and about a year. And a day in Vietnam at the Naval Support Activity Da Nang. I was in the support of the guys who did the grunt work. That's the Army and the Marine Corps. We tried to keep them healthy, provide them with supplies, ammunition, et cetera, and a place to have a little R&R when they had that opportunity to get their minds off of the combat war they were in. So it was a privilege to serve.
And that's why your name is China Beach, John.
Well, that's what you say.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's all that matters. My show.
I did learn how to surf in China Beach among the sea snakes, which were very poisonous, so you have to be very careful. But that was a privilege that very few men and women had that opportunity.
You know, a lot of people watching this now really don't know what China Beach, it was a R&R center, right?
Well, it was basically an R&R center, but at China Beach there were other facilities there. We had logistics, we had warehouses, we had supply ships, we had the Naval Hospital. So part of what we call China Beach is a R&R center. I'll call it in-country R&R. We had events. I wasn't involved in some of these activities, but surfboards, beer, liquor, entertainment, food, a chance for the men and women who were in combat to have a little bit of a break and have a place to actually eat and sleep in the day. So this is just a part of what's involved with a combat situation is the grunts really did the most difficult work out there, and our job was to support them as best we could. So we value their energy, their time commitment so much, and they gave so much that over 58,000 of our young men and women did not make it home. So I never will forget them.
And we have John Cena here, who's also served in Thailand with the fighters, right?
Yes, I was at 388 Tactical Fighter Wing in Karat, Thailand, Karat Royal Thai Air Force Base. I was a bomb loader and gun services person. We loaded the 105 aircraft. We had both the D models and the F models, which were wild weasels, and they had a nice little jaunt. I wasn't a pilot, so I was a youngster, and I just know stories about them. Never anything really.
John, we were all youngsters back then.
Yeah, we sure were. Well, I was right out of Texas. I was right out of high school of Texas. So when I went over there, but we used to. We loaded anywhere from 750 pound bombs, AIM-9 air-to-air missiles. We didn't load AIM-7; those are for F-4s, and we also loaded Reichs, which was one for the wild weasels. The wild weasels were the radar ones, and from what I hear, they'd have one plane come in, and when they radar pick it up and turn it on, the chase plane would log in on the radar site, and that was the end of that.
And I served overseas too at Utapao, Thailand, with the B-52s, SR-171 Blackbird, U-2, and I worked with MMS and FMS. But this is not about the three of us. This is about all Vietnam veterans, and also about this lovely lady that's sitting next to me. This is the lady who records a lot of the salute shows. Well, she just about all of them, except for the antique ones that we have on there, or the vintage ones we call it. Sue, and welcome to the show, Sue.
Thank you.
We had to put somebody in here to look good. And
I wish you could have gotten somebody better.
So Vietnam. I'm going to read the history of Vietnam Veterans Day, and I want you to talk a little bit about what you've done with me and some of the people that we've met, and because I think what people don't realize is we're about service, sacrifice, honor, and educate. And this show, I'm hoping we educate some people, because when you talk to some people who have no idea who Hanoi Hilton was, they don't know anything about what John McCain or Barry Briggs or any of those prisoners of war went through. So I want you think about it. But right now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Vietnam Veterans Day. It's on March the 29th, which is tomorrow, National Vietnam Veterans Day, as Americans unite to thank and honor Vietnam veterans and their families for their service and sacrifice. This special day joins 6 other military-centric annual observances, which is Memorial Day, Independence Day, and Veterans Day. March 29th is a fitting choice of the day honoring Vietnam veterans. It was chosen to be observed in the perpetually at March 29th, 1973, was the day that the United States Military Assistance Command Vietnam veteran was disestablished, and also the day the last U.S. combat troops departed Vietnam. In addition, around the same day, Hanoi released the last of the acknowledged prisoners of war. United States American Vietnam Veterans Commendation honors all veterans who served in duty in the armed forces at any time from November 1st, 1955 to May 15th, 1975, regardless of location, and their families. You know, we have some statistics that we're going to get to, but I want to get some feedback from you. So you, as someone who did not serve in Vietnam or was even in the military, but you have done a lot with me. So what are your thoughts about these kind of days?
Well, I did have 3 cousins that were all Marines, and my one cousin was there. He was at the last flight out when they were escorting, and some of the news clips still has him on there escorting out of the embassy. He was, well, he still is. He's quite a unique individual. A lot of our veterans came back with PTSD, and he's no different. He's had a lot of problems with alcoholism, drug abuse, and a lot of it stems from his relationship that he had over there. But I think what upset me most was the way that veterans were received when they came back. How we all looked at them as we didn't want to be in that war, and so therefore they were the guilty parties. And that is just so hard for me, who really appreciates, and through your love of veterans. Actually, that's why I got involved, because I just, I see passion, and when I see passion, I can't avoid it. And to hear you talk about your experiences when coming home really affected me. And that's why I do what I do, because I really saw that it was really bad what we did. And I don't think we'll ever do that again. I mean, look at what we've had. We've had wars that we don't really like to be in, and yet we still honor our veterans that come back.
Oh, absolutely. That's one thing I think, you guys will agree with me, that the Vietnam veterans, we want to make sure that those men and women that are serving now, they get the proper welcome home, right? It's all about welcome home.
Exactly. And that's one reason why we're all wearing red today.
That's right.
Remember everyone deployed.
Every Friday.
Every Friday.
But, talking about Vietnam a little bit, I got my partner over here, John Cena, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the bullet points. You see, I've worked on 3 or 4 different traveling walls. The first one was the wall of heels that came in Connecticut back in 1980 something. And I got this book, and I've kept this book since, and it has statistics in it about Vietnam, and Mr. John Cena is going to give you some of those statistics.
There were 7,484 women involved in Vietnam, 6,250 or 83.5% were nurses. There were 8 nurses died in Vietnam. 1 was killed in action. Let's see, we had 5,283 lost limbs. This is regular wounds and stuff. This is not the ladies. Amputations, we had 300% more than World War II, 70% more than Korea. And POWs, we had 766, 114 died in captivity. 25% of the total force in country were draftees. 66% armed forces were drafted during World War II. Draftees accounted for 30.4% of the combat deaths in Vietnam. Reserves killed were 5,977. National Guard, 6,140 served and 101 died. Total draftees was in 65 to 73 were 1,728,000. Actual served in Vietnam were 38%. Marine Corps draft was 42.6 thousand.
And we'll be back. We were talking about statistics and we're talking about the men. John wants to talk about some of the ladies that were served over there. But I just want to add one last thing that we mentioned. There's fathers and sons. There's, I think the youngest guy, one who was killed was like 15 years old. We have a lot of, between us, we'll have a lot of friends that served in Vietnam. But there's one of them that left us pretty, not in the last year or so, was Bob Haynes, who was a chaplain. And just to let you know that there are 8 chaplains, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 16 chaplains that are on that wall. And I've had the pleasure of meeting several of the chaplains who came home. One of them, Chaplain Stan Beach, who was originally from this area. He was awarded a lot of medals for being what he did in Vietnam. But John, you want to talk about something?
But John Cena, you hadn't quite finished your best part, did you?
I was done with the statistics. Yes.
Okay. Well, regarding some of the statistics, the continuation of what you were talking about, I have a few more bits of information. So, the Vietnam War, many of the young folks don't know much about that. Apparently, they don't talk much about it in school and so forth, but it really began in the early 1950s, but really for us, it became more involvement in 1964. And we had 100,000 military men that were authorized to assist the RVN, which is the Republic of Vietnam. And that increased over the time to eventually 2,994,000 men and women served. It was very contentious period of time in our nation's history, not well supported by a lot of the people in the United States, and so it was a difficult time. There were a lot of protests and so forth. In that number of people that served, there were over 10,000 military women, and you mentioned, John, that 8 of those did not come home alive. The Red Cross volunteers, every one of them, over 1,120 went for a year or more on their own. These are ladies who were out in the middle of combat, and many occasions, as one of our guests several months ago mentioned, she was on a helicopter under fire. She survived. So there are many, many people that did serve. And again, like we talked about Rosie the Riveter a few weeks ago, millions of civilians were working stateside in places to help our veterans serve in Vietnam. The whole process is not just pulling triggers. That's the most difficult and the most dangerous, but they have to have the bullets to do that, and they have to have the food. So that's where a lot of people worked. My notes say, and I can't verify this, that there were at some point 4 women, either POW or MIA, in Vietnam. I cannot verify it, but that's in some notes that I have here. Unfortunately, there was a very terrible crash in 1975 called the Baby Lift, in which many children from Vietnam were killed in a crash, along with 8 military and 58 U.S. citizens. Lake County was represented in Vietnam by hundreds, if not thousands, of men. 15 of those in there gave their lives in Vietnam. 15 of our neighbors here, Leesburg, Mount Dora, Mineola, Sumter County, Wildwood. It just very, very briefly, I'd like to just, I know those you listening out there who were in the war, we don't want to forget you, but we want to remember specifically some people that grew up in our area here, and somewhere in here I might have a list, which I do right here. I'm going to do it very briefly. These are the men that gave their lives from Lake County. From Leesburg, we had Army Sergeant Richard Edwards. He had Army DFC Ronald Garner. The Garner family still lives here. They're friends of mine. We had Marine Corps William Ernest Hill. We had Army Sergeant John Wayne Johnson. Navy Chief Petty Officer Quincy Hightower Truist. From Groveland, Army Specialist First Class Ronell Gaffney. In Eustis, Marine Corps Second Lieutenant Kenneth Fisher. Army from Eustis, Specialist 5 Jerry Lee Patrick. Lady Lake, Navy Lieutenant J.G. Kenneth Norton. Mascot, Army Sergeant Jess Thomas. Mount Dora, Army Chief Warrant Officer 4 Charles Edward H. D-E-I-T-S-C-H. Mount Dora, Marine Corps Gary Lee Duval. Mount Dora, Marine Corps Captain Jerry Woodall. Umatilla, Army Walter Benjamin Krusty. Yes. And Mineola, Sergeant Eli Knighton. Thank you, Jen, for your service. God bless.
Yeah, we all have those kind of memories, and that's why this Vietnam Veterans Day is observance tomorrow on the 29th. It's so important. It's all over. We have a lot of veterans down here, Vietnam veterans, especially in the villages area. And I know I can remember guys I went to high school with, played football with, that are on that wall. But by the grace of God, I'm not on there because the plane that crashed I was supposed to be on. And I lost 11 service members on that day. But yeah, you were talking about, and I have this one, United States of America Vietnam War commemoration honors all veterans who served the active duty in the armed forces from November 1955. People don't realize that, but in 1955 we had observers in Vietnam under the Eisenhower administration. So it was when it goes from 55 to 75 is when officially ended.
Right. Exactly.
I can remember before we go to bed, there would be the 10 o'clock news, and they would roll the people that had died and the men, women that had died that day. And that was pretty emotional to my whole family. We watched that. It was horrible.
It sure was.
They don't do that anymore. They just,
Yeah. I wanted to mention several local veterans again. These were not KIA or killed in action, but they're heroes, as every one of you men and women who did serve. These are local people that grew up here in Leesburg or close by. Especially, I want to mention my friend Sergeant Major Freddie Murray. He grew up in Waresdale. He volunteered to go into the Marine Corps when he was like 18 years old. Served 4 tours in Vietnam. He was awarded 2 Silver Stars. Now that's one of the nation's highest military awards of valor. He's here locally. He's experiencing many after effects of the war at this point in time. Physical conditioning is an issue for him because of Agent Orange and other things. The same combat event in which he received one of his Silver Stars, his lieutenant, I think it's Frank Reesner, he received one of their very first Medals of Honor, which we're going to talk about the Medal of Honor in a few minutes, but this is a local man. His commanding officer was killed in action that very same day. I also like to recognize an old friend and Leesburg High School classmate, Major Don Gregory. He served over 20 years in the Army. He received or was awarded the Bronze Star. He also completed over 20 years of service as a Lake County Sheriff. And Don is no longer, he used to be my next door neighbor. He's no longer with us. Then another young man at the time, now in his beyond teenage, Colonel Dan Larson, graduate of the Citadel, graduate of Leesburg High School in 1958. And he continued on and served in Vietnam on several occasions and was awarded the Silver Star. He's retired Army. His son and his grandson and him, all three graduated from Citadel and entered into the Army to serve our country. Then another little rascal from Leesburg, a year behind me in high school, is Colonel J.L. LaRue. He was a character, and he was a funny guy, and he went on and he did an amazing career with the Marine Corps as a pilot. He was awarded in Vietnam not only one, but two Distinguished Flying Crosses for rescuing in a high combat time a group of Australian soldiers on one occasion and a group of American soldiers. So we also have another young man, this is the last one I'll mention, and there are many more of you out there, and I apologize that I don't have your names to put out, but thank you all for your service. But this Colonel Ransford Potter, Leesburg High School graduate, also received and awarded the Bronze Star. Thank you. God bless you.
Yeah, as you said, there's a lot of them out there. I probably interviewed about 25, 30 of them. My partner there's been with me. You remember Phil Ide, who helicopter pilot, highly decorated. He lives in the Villages.
That was an amazing story.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them. One of them, when you go to the American Legion of VFW or AMVETS post or something, you sit down there to have a beer, you don't know who's sitting next to you. Mm-hmm. I had a guy named Walter Moss who lived around here, but I don't know where it came from originally. But Walter Moss was a tunnel rat.
Oh, that was amazing.
A lot of people don't even know what a tunnel rat is, but he was that. He also had to take the bombs out of the river, and I think he died as a result of Agent Orange. And I've had a lot of friends of mine that, John mentioned statistics. What are the statistics? Well, the statistic sheet I gave him was 1998. That was on the traveling wall. They came in. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a lot more veterans, men and women, who've died as a result, but not in battle per se. They've gotten Agent Orange or PTSD, and he became homeless. I know of a guy that he was homeless because he wanted to be.
That was my cousin.
Yeah. There's a great book out now called Giant Killer. It's about a guy. He died here in Florida. Originally, I think he was from Connecticut. There's a lot. You got a lot of these snowbirds that come down and they stay.
Be nice.
They call them damn Yankees because they come down and they stay. But anyway, this guy is. It's a story. He's 5'9". And he had a fight to get into the Army, and he became a Green Beret, highly decorated. I have his statistics here somewhere, but I don't know where right offhand. But anyway, he was a captain, and he's like one of those, and there's I met a lot of them that they want to live in the forest. There's one guy up in Connecticut, he wanted to live underneath the road, the trestle there. Yeah. And family wanted to get him out, but he wouldn't go, even though they had money. But he says, no, that's where he felt secure. The same story is with this guy, Captain, what's his name? I can't read.
Flaherty.
Flaherty?
Flaherty.
Captain Flaherty. This is a guy that was 5'9" tall, but if you ask the VA, they said he was 5'7". But he became a captain in the Green Berets and highly decorated. And he died here in Florida. It was a hit and run, and they never got the guy who hit him.
Oh, wow.
But he became very good friends with a police officer, and this police officer wrote the book about him, and I just got it, and I started reading it. And, there's so many stories like that of the war. We honor our men and women and we welcome them home. But also when they come home, we have to make sure we take care of them. Absolutely. Because Agent Orange, traumatic brain injuries. This month is Traumatic Brain Injury Month, as well as Women's History Month. And John, you got another one, right?
This is regarding
Medal of Honor.
Medal of Honor. Yeah, this is a little bit different subject, and that we are, today primarily recognizing the Vietnam veterans and some events that we'll talk about in a few minutes that are coming up in the next few days. Back on March 25th of every year is the Medal of Honor Day. And I don't think too many of us really knew that or know that because it's not real well publicized. But just to tell you what that is, a Medal of Honor is presented in the first one in 1863 on March the 25th. And it was presented to 6 members of Andrews Raiders. So this is the Civil War era. I don't know. I'm assuming they were from the north side. I'm not sure about that, but I would think so. But since that time, and this may not be current, there's been 3,500 service members who have also been recognized and awarded the Medal of Honor, which is the highest military award presented by the United States. So that was 2 days ago, annual March 25th.
Yeah, I've got to meet one of them, Sammy Davis.
Really?
He's on our YouTube channel. When Eustis brought in the traveling wall, and Sammy Davis was the guest of honor.
Mm-hmm.
He was United States Army Medal of Honor recipient from Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And his story, you can see his story on our YouTube channel. So
Good. We got some events. You want to talk about that coming up in the next few days, or John, for the annual Vietnam Veterans Day?
All right, we've got Volusia Valor Days coming up, and that's in Volusia County. It's the weekend. It's the 29th and the 30th at the Volusia County Fairgrounds in DeLand, Florida. An immense experience of World War II tanks and artillery demonstrations, World War II historic battle reenactments, living history camps, and displays that will be available. Come on out and take a look and enjoy yourselves. It should be a really great time. And that starts tomorrow and Sunday.
Where is that again?
That's in Volusia County. That's in DeLand, the Volusia County Fairgrounds at DeLand.
Fairgrounds, okay.
Also, don't forget, I'll keep on reminding you about the AMVETS Department of Florida. They're still collecting packages for homeless veterans, and we collect them at AMVETS Post 2006, but any post close to you will accept them. They have, you put together packages including 1 Ziploc bag, 1 gallon Ziploc bag, travel size shampoo and conditioner, toothbrush, toothpaste, travel soap bar, mouthwash, washcloths, no white ones, and deodorant. Thank you.
and we'll be back. And if there's anybody else out there that's got something going on, you can call us here, and we'll put it on the air. It's a special day that we remember and thank all our people in Vietnam Veterans Appreciation Day.
Bob, just one other quick thing. It's not specifically Vietnam Veterans Day, but for those out there that don't realize, we have a Veterans Park in Leesburg downtown. And it is amazing. You'll see monuments to all the local veterans with their names, or many of them from all eras of service, from any time they served in service, World War II and Korea and Vietnam. So it's got the names of many, many folks that are there that serve, but certainly not nearly as many names as have actually served who live here. We don't know all their names. So that's a great place to visit if it's open at all times. Basically, it's not an admission type thing. It's just a walk through park around a little bit of a lake there. And it's just on the very north side of the Leesburg Courthouse, downtown Leesburg.
Yeah, that was started by a lot of the Korean veterans. There's a Korean monument there, Vietnam veteran monument there. And the big monument is anybody who served in Lake or Sumter County. They wanted to get their name on the wall. So there's people there, they're not They could be now from any part of the country. They came and moved to Florida. They've got their name on there. So, they put my name on there too. I didn't ask them to, but they did. But I'm at the bottom. But it's a beautiful park. I applaud the city of Leesburg. I remember when they were talking about it and we got it started, there was this one stone way in the distance that was for like World War I. But now there's the history. I did a show there, which is on our YouTube. You filmed that with me, Sue, with our good friend Wally Lambert, who is with the Lord. And he was World War II, and there's a one all about World War II. It's a great place to take your young people and, like you say, John, and get a little bit of an education. Because if we don't remember and honor what our men and women have done, we've lost all meaning in this country.
Yeah.
So, John, you're looking at something there.
Well, I'm trying to review something here. Well, regarding the Vietnam War, this divided many Americans, and those men and women returning home usually did not receive a warm welcome homecoming other than from our own family and friends.
Absolutely.
So more often than not, many were met with just really outright hostile, despicable treatment. And many, I was not treated this way, but I've had friends tell me people would spit on them, call them names, baby killers, blah, 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 on and on and on. So what we got to remember is these veterans didn't start that war. These American veterans were called upon to serve our country, and they did so. They either were volunteers or they were called to do so, and they went. So they didn't typically ask, nor did they start this war, but they gave an oath to give their life for our country in our defense if necessary.
I think a lot of people don't even understand the draft. They didn't understand that. It was a time when your number was up,
Yeah.
I can remember.
Absolutely. Well, many of us were facing the draft back in the 70s and 60s, and many of the men and women weren't subject to the draft, but many of them did volunteer. So if you were going to be drafted, you probably, I think, could be going into the Army. So many of us chose ahead of time our preference would be, you guys went into the Air Force. I decided to go to the Navy, as my uncle did. My uncle was a World War II veteran. He was captured in South America by the Nazis during the war, and for the rest of his life, he did survive, but he had extreme PTSD. So, Lieutenant Nathaniel Boaz O'Kelly, a truly American hero. That's another war. That's World War II. But anyway, I just want to make sure everybody out there will understand that these veterans served our country. They didn't start the war.
I remember hearing people taking off they would change from getting off the plane.
That was me.
Right.
Yeah, as soon as I got off the plane, you went into the bathroom and changed into civilian clothes. Because you couldn't really go a lot of places, there were so many protests and, but as the saying goes, and I truly believe it, you can blame the war, but you can't blame the warriors.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
We did what was asked of us, and, so you blame the war, but never blame the warrior.
Right.
I think every one of us, hundreds of thousands or millions of veterans, probably remember the very day that plane landed back in the United States. What specifically happened that very moment is still vivid in my mind. I can remember walking down the hallway at the old Orlando International Airport, and here goes my brother.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah.
And that was a home time to spend last week of my father's life with him. So I was rewarded. Not too many of theirs were not rewarded that way. Think about it.
Bob, where did you land?
The last time I came back, I landed in Travis.
Travis, yeah.
Travis, yeah.
Yeah, I flew into Travis.
And but my story was a little different. I was coming home, and my brother met me in California, and we took the time to drive all the way back across country.
Oh, wow.
So I got to spend time with my brother and another Vietnam veteran friend of mine who lived in California. He had gotten out earlier than I, and I still had his address, so we went to Disneyland. Like a football player that
There
went
you
to
go.
Disneyland. But yeah, like I said, I really wanted to do this show because I got a little upset when I start talking to people, and maybe it's just because it's me. I'm so much into military history and the men and women who put their lives on the line, like John said. They don't know anything. A kid says to me, World War II was fought in Germany. Another kid said, Hitler wasn't a bad guy. And you talk about Vietnam. Even my nephew, who's like in his 40s, I said, about the Hanoi Hilton? I guess that's a hotel in Hanoi. Obviously they don't know about the Hanoi Hilton. They don't know about what John McCain went through, and the story about the one guy who's in the Navy who fell off a ship. He was the one they sent back because all the officers refused to go back out of the Hanoi Hilton. Mm-hmm. He went back, and he had a photographic memory.
Yes, I remember
and
that.
He knew everybody. It was on the Vietnam Veterans magazine about 2 months ago.
Everybody's name, where they lived, their address, and how to reach their relatives. This was an enlisted man the officers chose not to leave because they felt that was their obligation to stay.
Yeah, John McCain said, my dad's an admiral. You think I'm going back? You're out of your mind.
Yeah.
And I did another one with the interview with Barry Briggs, who also was a Vietnam veteran and prisoner of war, and as well as Captain Charlie Plum, United States Navy. These we need to educate our younger people, and even some people in their 30s and 40s and 50s who have no idea. Because if you don't realize the sacrifice that these men and women made, you take it for granted, and you got to lose it. But that's just my thought.
Oh, that's sorry.
No, I totally agree, and that's why we do what we do to bring it. But it's not enough. It's just not enough because we still have people that don't know anything about it.
We're gonna do a sign off. You ready? Look at the camera. All right. I want to thank you guys for coming on Central Florida Salute, and of course you, my dear. But we're time to say goodbye, and this is how we do it. To all our veterans out there, our active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time, and thank you, the Q, for allowing us to do this. Check out the radio show. Today I'm at AMVETS Post 2006, a major sponsor of Central Florida Salute. And I want to introduce to you the commander here, Ronnie Mack. Ronnie, tell us a little bit about AMVETS 2006. Where are you located? And
we are at 500 North Canal Street, Leesburg, Florida. It's right off of 441, between 441 and Main Street on Canal. Can't miss us. And we're a veterans organization, along with, we have an auxiliary, and we have sons of veterans that are related some form or another to a veteran. And we do a lot for a lot of charitable donations and stuff to charities in the area and in the county, and we're a major sponsor to Central Florida Salute. We're proud of it. We're glad to be. You guys do a heck of a job, and we'll sponsor you as long as I'm here. We're going to sponsor you. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, we do. Sue and I really appreciate it. We're a two-person operation, and what we try to do with education and supporting our veterans community, and you supporting us, is major thing. It's major.
We're glad to do it, Bob. We're glad to do it.
And you have sons here. You have auxiliary here. You've got a website too, if somebody wants to join.
Yep. It's don't punch into www. It's amvets-2006.org. And it'll take you right to our website, Facebook page, and all that's there, and you'll be able to find that. The webmaster, he tries to get the calendar on there every month, anything pertinent. There's a lot of other links on there for veterans to find out where to get help for certain claims and stuff like that. Our webmaster's really into that stuff. That's the guy you ought to be interviewing right there. So,
Well, you know
yeah,
what,
he's got
Ronnie?
a lot of stuff.
You have a lot of clout. You tell him to talk to me, and we'll get him on the show, okay?
I can do that. I can
All
do
right.
that.
But I just want to, on behalf of Sue and myself, we want to thank AMVETS 2006 because you guys are the major players behind us, and we appreciate it.
But we just wish we could do more. We really do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.